The scream tore through the night, sharp and jagged, like glass shattering on marble. I bolted upright in bed, heart hammering, knowing it was him, Elliot, the boy who carried a storm in his soul. By the time I reached his room in the sprawling seaside mansion, he was curled on the floor, trembling, his dark hair plastered to his sweat-slicked forehead. Elliot Hawthorne was no ordinary man. At 22, he was the heir to a pharmaceutical empire, a prodigy with a mind sharper than a blade but fractured by its own weight. His genius came at a cost, manic episodes that swung between euphoria and despair, threatening to unravel him. And me. I'm Caleb, his childhood friend, his confidant, the only one who could pull him back from the edge. I'd been doing it since we were kids, when his laughter would turn to tears in a heartbeat, and I'd hold his hand under the oak tree in his family's estate, promising I'd never let go. Tonight was worse. His room was a battlefield, books strewn, a lamp shattered, his paintings slashed. "Caleb," he whispered, voice raw. "It's happening again. I can't stop it." His eyes, usually so fierce, were wide with fear, and I knelt beside him, my hands steadying his shaking frame. "You're not alone," I said, my voice firm despite the ache in my chest. "I'm here." We grew up in Havenport, a sleepy coastal town in Maine, where the Hawthorns' wealth cast a long shadow. Elliot's parents were distant, their love measured in trust funds and expectations. They hired tutors, therapists, anyone who might fix their son, but none of them saw him like I did. To them, he was a problem. To me, he was everything. By 16, I knew my feelings for him ran deeper than friendship, but I buried them. Elliot's world was chaotic enough without my heart complicating things. That night, I coaxed him back to bed, sitting by his side as his breathing steadied. His hand found mine, fingers intertwining, and for a moment, the storm in him quieted. "Why do you stay?" he murmured, half asleep. I didn't answer. How could I tell him that every time he broke, I felt it in my bones? That I loved him in a way that scared me as much as his instability did. Morning brought a fragile calm. Elliot was himself again, or as close as he ever got. We walked to the pier, the same one where we'd spent countless summers, the salty air sharp against our skin. He was quieter now, his dark eyes scanning the horizon. "I'm a mess, Caleb," he said, kicking a pebble into the water. "You deserve better than babysitting me." "Don't say that," I snapped, sharper than I meant. "You're not a burden." He looked at me, surprised, and for a second, I thought he saw a truth I'd hidden for years. But he just smiled, that crooked, heartbreaking smile, and changed the subject. Havenport wasn't kind to people like us. Small towns talk, and the whispers about Elliot's episodes were relentless. They called him unhinged, a ticking bomb. I heard worse about myself, poor kid, tied to the Hawthorns' broken air. But I didn't care. I'd take their judgment if it meant keeping him safe. Weeks passed, and Elliot's highs grew wilder. He'd paint for days without sleep, his canvases alive with chaotic colors, or talk endlessly about revolutionizing medicine, his voice electric. I loved his passion, but it scared me. Each high was a prelude to a crash, and I couldn't always catch him. One night, he vanished. I found him at the cliffs, teetering too close to the edge, the wind howling around him. I could end it. he said, not looking at me. All of it. My heart stopped. I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. Don't you dare, I said, voice breaking. You don't get to leave me. His eyes met mine, and something shifted. He didn't fight me, didn't pull away. Instead, he leaned into me, his forehead against mine, and whispered, I don't deserve you. That was the first time I felt its spark of something more. His touch lingered, his breath warm against my cheek. I wanted to tell him everything, to confess that I'd loved him since we were boys. But fear held me back. What if I pushed him too far? What if I broke him? Instead, I took him home, my heart pounding with what-ifs. As we sat on his porch, the stars bright above, he reached for my hand again. Caleb, he said, voice soft. What are we doing? I didn't know how to answer. All I knew was that I'd follow him into any storm, no matter the cost. Summer bled into fall, and Havenport's leaves turned crimson, mirroring the tension in Elliot's eyes. His manic episodes came faster now, each one a wave threatening to drown him. I was his anchor, but the weight of it was crushing me. Still, I couldn't walk away, not when he looked at me like I was his only tether to the world. One evening, at the town's autumn festival, Elliot was electric. He dragged me through the crowd, his laughter bright, his hand warm in mine. For a moment, he was the boy I'd fallen for wild. Brilliant. Alive. We shared a caramel apple, his lips brushing my fingers as he took a bite. And my heart stuttered. You're blushing, he teased, his grin dangerous. I laughed it off, but inside, I was unraveling. That night, under the festival lights, he kissed me. It was sudden, desperate, like he was pouring all his chaos into me. My world tilted. I kissed him back, my hands in his hair, tasting the sweetness of caramel and the salt of his skin. When we pulled apart, his eyes were wide, searching. Caleb, he whispered, I've wanted this for so long. I should have been happy, but dread coiled in my gut. Elliot's highs never lasted, and I feared what this meant. We can't, I said, voice shaking. Not like this. His face fell, and I hated myself for it. But I couldn't risk him spiraling, not when his mind was already a battlefield. The next day, he was distant, his mood dark. I tried to reach him, but he shut me out, retreating to his studio. When I found him, he was painting a storm of black and red, his hands shaking. You don't get it, he snapped. I'm poison. Caleb, I'll ruin you. I grabbed his wrist, stopping him. You're not poison, I said fiercely. You're everything. He stared at me, tears in his eyes, and I realized how deep his fear ran. He wasn't just afraid of himself, was afraid of losing me. I pulled him close, holding him as he broke, his sobs muffled against my chest. I love you, I whispered, the words slipping out before I could stop them. He froze, then clung to me tighter, like I was his lifeline. But love didn't fix him. His episodes grew worse, and Havenport's whispers turned vicious. Someone spray-painted freak on his car, and I saw the shame in his eyes. I wanted to scream at the town, to protect him from their cruelty, but I could barely protect him from himself. One night, he disappeared again. I searched everywhere: his studio, the pier, the cliffs. Panic clawed at me until I found him in an abandoned lighthouse, staring at the sea. "I can't keep doing this," he said, voice hollow. "I'm dragging you down with me." I knelt beside him, my hands on his face. "You're not dragging me anywhere," I said. "I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you." He looked at me, broken and beautiful, and kissed me again. This time, it was slow, deliberate, like a promise. But promises were fragile, and I knew we were running out of time. His parents noticed the change in him and in us. They cornered me one evening, their faces cold. "You're enabling him," his mother said. "He needs professional help." Not. Whatever this is. I wanted to argue, to tell them I was the only one who saw him. But doubt crept in. Was I helping him? Or was I selfishly holding on? That night, Elliot found me on the pier, his eyes wild. "They want to send me away," he said, voice trembling. "Some facility in Boston. They think I'm broken." My heart sank. I'd heard of those places sterile, soulless, where they'd strip him of everything that made him Elliot. "I won't let them," I said, gripping his hand. "We'll figure this out." But deep down, I was terrified. Elliot's mind was a labyrinth, and I was losing my way. Still, I couldn't let go it when he looked at me like I was his only light in the dark. Winter gripped Havenport, the air sharp with ice and unspoken truths. Elliot's parents were relentless, their plans to institutionalize him moving faster than I could counter. I spent every moment with him, desperate to prove he didn't need to be fixed, just understood. But his episodes were relentless, each one chipping away at the fragile hope we'd built. One night, during a blizzard, he crashed harder than ever. I found him in his studio, surrounded by shattered glass, his hands bleeding from punching a mirror. "I'm not enough," he sobbed. "Not for you. Not for anyone." I bandaged his hands, my own shaking, and held him until dawn. "You're enough," I whispered. "You've always been enough." I knew we couldn't stay in Havenport. The town's judgment, his parents' control, it was suffocating him. So I planned our escape. I had savings from my summer jobs, enough for a fresh start somewhere new. "Come with me," I told him one night, as we sat by the fire in his room. "We'll go to Seattle, somewhere they don't know us. We'll build a life." His eyes lit up, a spark of the old Elliot, and he nodded. "With you. I can try." We left under cover of night, driving west in my beat-up truck. The road stretched endless, and for the first time, Elliot seemed free. We talked about everything: his dreams of painting, my hopes of teaching. At a gas station in Ohio, he kissed me under a flickering neon sign, and I felt like we could outrun anything. But freedom came at a cost. In Chicago, his mania returned, wilder than ever. He wanted to climb a skyscraper, to touch the stars. I talked him down, but the crash was brutal. In a cheap motel, he curled into me, whispering, "What if I can't be fixed?" I held him tighter. "I don't want you fixed," I said. "I want you. All of you." Seattle was our haven. We found a tiny apartment, and I got a job at a community center while Elliot painted. His work was raw, beautiful, a window into his soul. But the episodes didn't stop. One night, he woke me, his voice calm but resolute. "I need help." Caleb. Real help. He'd found a therapist, someone who specialized in his condition, who saw his brilliance, not just his brokenness. It wasn't easy. Therapy was grueling, and medication was a trial of balance. But Elliot fought for himself. For us. I was there every step, holding his hand through the worst days, celebrating the small victories. One evening, as we walked along Puget Sound, he stopped and turned to me. "You saved me," he said, his voice steady. Not from my mind, but from giving up. I shook my head. "You saved yourself, Elliot. I just reminded you who you are." He smiled. And this time, it wasn't fragile. It was real, rooted in a strength he'd found within himself. We kissed, the city lights reflecting on the water, and I knew we'd made it through the storm. Years later, Havenport was a distant memory. Elliot's paintings hung in galleries, each one a testament to his resilience. I taught kids who reminded me of us lost, but searching for light. We weren't perfect. His mind still wandered, and I still worried. But we faced it together, our love a quiet strength that no storm could break. In the end, it wasn't about fixing Elliot. It was about loving him through the chaos, showing him he was worth fighting for. And as we stood on our balcony, watching the sunset, his hand in mine, I knew I'd choose him every time, no matter how unstable the world might be.